The woman who abandoned her for years suddenly stands before her, but Mizuki Yukikaze doesn't feel relief, just cold, boiling rage. Her mother, the legendary Mizuki Shiranui, was the Phantom Lord all along, a puppet of the very demons Yukikaze swore to fight. If this reunion is supposed to heal something, then why does Yukikaze feel like the ground beneath her is about to shatter? Stick around, because this isn't a story about a happy family coming back together, it's about a daughter finally closing the door for good. Welcome back to the channel, where we dig into the cracks of your favorite stories and find the real drama hiding underneath. Don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe, because trust me, the pain is just getting started. Let's rewind to a moment that broke everything, a moment that made this confrontation inevitable. Picture Gosha Village, year 2089, a place where ninja train like their lives depend on it, and for some, it really does. Yukikaze was in a mock battle against Asagi, trying to prove something, maybe to herself or to the legacy weighing on her shoulders. She unleashed techniques she shouldn't have, lightning tornadoes and clones passed down from her mother and Shinganji Kurenai. It was flashy, powerful, and then it went horribly wrong as she lost control, nearly blowing up the entire arena. Only the intervention of Shinohara Mari and others stopped a catastrophe that even Nigirian Ryuzenki feared. Asagi knocked her on the head, not in anger, but in warning. Don't use that again until you can control it. That moment was a seed of doubt, a tiny crack in Yukikaze's confidence that would grow into a chasm. Later, Asagi went home feeling old, wondering if she was losing her edge, while Yukikaze just wanted to talk to Kotaro. But Kotaro was busy watching Aishu Hebiko train, and that small slight lit a fire of jealousy in her chest. She didn't speak to him after that, choosing instead to train her ninja beasts a bear, a snake, and even a crayfish, because why not? Meanwhile, a future version of Yukikaze left equipment with Zenki, frustrated that her younger self hadn't even kissed Kotaro yet. This future self was meddling, trying to fix a timeline that was already spiraling, but she couldn't fix the emotional mess. Then came the bride contest in Yomihara, a weird diversion to keep Ajiryu and others busy after the Demon Gate's destruction. Yulia, Yukikaze, Asagi, Sakura, and a whole cast of characters participated, but Kokawa Asuka won after others got disqualified. Some lost in cooking, some for showing too much skin, but the real competition was never about a title. Fuma Kotaro got blamed for a criminal plot to restore the Demon Gate, even though he was trying to solve a crisis. Yukikaze was put under surveillance because everyone knew she'd disobey orders to protect him, and they were right. They confiscated her gear, put limiters on her, and stationed Shijo Kisaragi and Hayakaze Ayako outside her mansion. But her future self had gifted Minasaki and Lilim some advanced gear, and Lilim used it to drug the guards. She fed them laxatives and slipped past the fire squad, avoiding a bigger conflict, just to reach Kotaro in time. She arrived just as Marjana was about to kill him, and Yukikaze broke her shields, forcing her to flee. But she couldn't stop Asagi from striking Kotaro, a strike that was only an illusion, but no one told Yukikaze. And that's when the world went red for her. She believed the man she loved was dead, killed by her own comrade. Her rage was instant, overwhelming, and she turned all of that fury toward Igawa Asagi without a second thought. Asagi used the Falcon Art, but Yukikaze's anger and escalating power pushed her to the brink of defeat. The fight ended only when Mizuki Shiranui appeared, using water art to intervene, shocking everyone on the field. It was the first time Yukikaze had seen her mother in years, and it wasn't a warm reunion, it was a knife to the chest. Shiranui casually revealed that Kotaro's death was faked, and even Asagi thought that was tactless given the moment. Asagi explained the real plan, calming Hebiko and Shikanosuke, but Yukikaze's eyes stayed locked on her mother with pure hostility. Once the situation stabilized, Yukikaze finally asked the question that had haunted her for years. Why did you leave? Shiranui's answer was pitifully brief. She said it was because she loved her and Yukikaze rejected it outright. Love doesn't abandon a child to grow up alone in a cold mansion, carrying the weight of a legacy she never asked for. She remembered all those lonely Christmases and birthdays, with only a ghost named Zenki for company, trapped and unable to leave. Zenki was there, but his own mental state and inability to leave the mansion meant she was still essentially alone. Yet, she held on to hope, believing she would find her mother one day, that she was alive and could be rescued. She found a new family in Gosha, a new purpose, but the shadow of her mother never truly left her. She feared she'd have to give up on finding Shiranui, only to learn she had become the Phantom Lord, aligned with demons. That discovery was a betrayal that cut deeper than any physical wound, a rewriting of the memory she held dear. Shiranui tried to explain, saying Yukikaze would understand eventually, as if time could heal a wound like this. But Yukikaze felt her mother still saw her as that powerless child left behind, not the warrior she had become. So she did the unthinkable. She severed the emotional ties, declaring Shiranui was no longer her mother. Those words hung in the air like a guillotine dropping, and Shiranui was left speechless, avoiding her daughter's gaze. Yukikaze walked away without looking back, and Hebiko and Shikanosuke followed, bowing to Shiranui in a silent goodbye. Asagi tried to find Shiranui to offer comfort, but she had vanished, leaving a void of unresolved pain. That long-awaited reunion didn't bring closure. It brought a deeper animosity that seemed impossible to repair. Yukikaze's violent outburst at the staged attack became public knowledge, and the government classified her as a dangerous threat. The irony is thick here. She's the victim of a lie, but she's the one being punished for reacting to it. Asagi refused orders to apprehend her, calling Yukikaze the treasure of Gosha, promising to protect her no matter what. That loyalty is admirable, but it also highlights how fractured the Taimanin's trust has become. Shiranui later visited Gosha, intending to see Yukikaze before returning to the demon realm, but what could she possibly say? It's implied they made some kind of promise, a fragile hope that Shiranui would return later, but promises can be empty. Yukikaze might have accepted that promise, but the emotional damage was already done, a scar on her soul. The weight of her mother's absence, the lies, and the public scrutiny made her a ticking time bomb of emotions. This is where the story gets messy, because healing isn't linear, and family bonds can break even when you want them to hold. The confrontation was a climax of years of suppressed pain, a moment where the silence finally had to speak. But was it a victory for Yukikaze, or just another scar she'll carry into battle? She proved she's not a child anymore, but she also showed that some wounds don't heal with time. Her relationship with Kotaro is strained. Her mother is a stranger, and her future self is pulling strings she doesn't understand. The legacy of the Mizuki name feels more like a curse than a blessing at this point. Yet, there's a strange strength in her decision to walk away, to choose herself over a hollow connection. She's not the same girl who trained alone in that mansion, waiting for a mother who would never come. Her skills are sharper, her will is harder, and she's learning that family is what you build, not what you're born into. But the government's fear is real, and her classification as a threat is a danger that won't fade overnight. The question is, can she control her power and her anger before it destroys everything she's fought to protect? Kotaro, the root of so much of her pain, is still out there, and their story is far from over. The faked death was a cruel trick, but it exposed the fragility of trust within their ranks. But that wedding contest felt so out of place, like a filler episode in the middle of a tragedy. And the way Shiranui just disappeared after that confrontation? That's classic avoidance behavior, and it's infuriating. I'm not saying Yukikaze is perfect, her rage is dangerous, and she nearly killed Asagi over a lie. But she was manipulated, surveilled, and left in the dark, and her reaction is a consequence of that isolation. Gosha Village is supposed to be a sanctuary, but it became a stage for her trauma to play out. The promise Shiranui made at the end feels like a band-aid on a gaping wound, maybe even a way to buy time. I wonder if Yukikaze even wants her mother to return, or if she's already closed that chapter for good. And that's the real tragedy, not the fight, not the betrayal, but the possibility that forgiveness is no longer an option. The story of Mizuki Yukikaze is one of a girl who became strong out of necessity, not out of love. And that strength may be her salvation, or it might be the very thing that isolates her forever. Yukikaze's decision to walk away from Shiranui transformed her from a daughter seeking approval into a woman claiming her own identity. But the government's fear and Asagi's defiance ensure that this chapter of her life will have lasting consequences for everyone in Gosha. Maybe the true ending isn't reconciliation, but rather the acceptance that some relationships must end in order for us to grow. Honestly, I felt like this was one of the most human moments in the entire Taimanin story, and it made me uncomfortable because it felt all too real. It seems Yukikaze realized that sometimes the people we love can be the most alien to us. See you in the next video, and don't forget to subscribe, because the next story might be even darker than this.